Banter Show. My name is Joey. I'm joined this week by Neil.
Hello.
And by Imogen.
Hi, Joey.
Now, you would think that the reduced numbers down to 3 from 4 would mean a tighter, more compact show. But I can guarantee you that given the lack of agenda here and the sort of direct remit of just vibing on the FA Cup semi-final, I think this is going to be a fairly kind of loose affair. Let's start off by saying moments of the last period in which has elapsed since we last spoke. And I'm going to throw to the person that looks the most prepared, which surprisingly is Neil, I think.
That is me, because I have the moment of my lifetime, not just the period. This kid met Mark.
Of course!
What a day.
So please go forward.
Oh, well, there's loads of things that happened. So I went to the sponsor day. Finally, I got my my rewards for putting my money where my mouth was this year, and actually got to meet Bobby Thomas. Exceptionally lovely man, very tall. Photos showed that. But then later in the day, there was a Q&A with Mark, and that was brilliant. I got to meet him as well, and I asked him a few questions because a few people asked some questions, and then nobody else seemed to want to ask him any questions. So I took the mic a few more times, asked plenty more questions, and then stomped up and got a handshake with him, got a hug with him, got a photo with him, told him that I enjoyed him, which is a weird thing to say. I said that anyway. Yeah, and then that was it. And then I looked at the photo afterwards, and I sent to you guys, and I will have to say it is probably the worst photo that has ever been taken of me. It was classic Seinfeld episode where he's got that woman who keeps getting caught in the wrong light.
Yeah.
It was absolutely disgraceful, which is a shame. But I still met Mark, so what are you going to do?
You know how gorgeous I think you are, obviously.
Oh, thanks so much.
It is the worst photo I've ever seen of you. It is absolutely
outrageous, isn't it? Of all the times as well. Of all the times.
It's an absolute classic Allison move, by the way. When you're referencing Seinfeld, of course, you are very much the George Costanza of this
man.
podcast. But the photo that you get with Mark just also happens to be the photo that you wouldn't want anybody else to see.
The worst thing about it was I was like really excited for a few reasons. One, because I'd obviously met Bobby Thomas earlier in the day, and I have this thing where I seem to have photos only with players who are over 6'4", which is annoying because I'm not 6'4". So yeah. I had that photo taken. I was like, that's not going to be good, is it? But I thought Mark turned up, and I had no real sense of how tall Mark was. Mark's a regular sized bloke. So I stood next to him. I was like, this is going to be amazing. Look at me. I can put this one on my Instagram. No, that didn't happen for obvious reasons. But
I think of Mark being a little bit smaller than average. Would you describe him as an average sized man?
Yeah, he was a good 5'8", which is a regular sized man, isn't it?
I think that's a regular. I thought he would have been a bit under that. I always get the impression that him and AD are sort of like a pair of sort of terriers sort of snapping at the heels of opposition managers.
Yeah. I would love to see him wearing AD's coat one day. That would be quite amusing. Just to see just how, I think it's the entire height of his body, which would be useful.
Would you elaborate on the capacity in which you were there? So as a sponsor for plug purposes.
Oh, have I not? Oh, I guess we've never podded. So we I mentioned it. So I'm Bobby Thomas's sponsor this season. So in the program, you'll see my own personal name. That ego is out there, and so that's what I've done. And I wasn't sure exactly what I'd get, but part of that is you get to go to the sponsors day and you get to meet your sponsor and you get a signed shirt and you get to see all the other sort of players milling around. The one disappointment I did have was that I thought the vibe would be turn up and all the players are there and you just mingle. You mingle with them all. But it was very much kind of got there. Your player came in, had to make a beeline for Bobby. And then there was no real opportunity to mingle with other people because then it was fairly sort of swift, which was a shame because I do like mingling with COD footballers. But Mark turned up afterwards. So again, all was good.
You'll have to wait until the next night in Leamington where you're stalking.
Oh, yeah.
I was rather hoping to give you the opportunity there to sort of platform your business more than more than you did.
I feel like by putting it in the program every single week and mentioning it a few times on social is kind of enough. But yeah, my business is I am a website designer, a digital chap, and that's what I do. But this isn't really a platform for that, is it?
Yeah, it could be. Imogen, would you care to tell us more about your business or your moment of time periods in which we've...
I do not wish to share my business, but can I ask Neil a few more questions about Mark, please? First of all,
Go ahead.
what did he smell like?
He smelt of absolutely nothing, which was a pleasant surprise. Rare you get that.
But predictable all the same, I would have thought.
I would have, yeah. Bland for men, that kind of smell. Yeah.
And what questions did you ask him?
Oh, what did I ask him? He didn't like one of the questions. I think he thought I was being a bit daft. But I asked him one about, did he think the team did the team surprise him against Wolves, just in terms of how much they kind of competed and also the levels they were able to show in that game. So I threw that one out there. I thought that was good, but he got quite defensive, saying that it was basically he knew about that all along anyway. I was like, oh, that's probably right because you're the manager. I also asked him, did he take any notice of social media, given that everybody seems to think that they can do his job? And he was basically had a little bit of a rant about basically everybody should get off social media. There's no problem. I also, which is exactly what you'd expect him to say, but I also then kind of sort of wilted at that point because I realised I had introduced myself as Neil Allison from the Neil Lamptey Show podcast. That was my opening gambit, and I thought, oh, hang on, who does he think I am? So. Yeah, that was my last question, by the way. I asked another one in between that, but I forget what that is now.
Mark, do you think that people should not pretend to be experts and extol on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll take that back to my podcast. That
they'll enjoy that.
That has upwards of 50 listeners every time we release it.
Yeah, I'm surprised he shook my hand afterwards, but no, at the time I was on such a high because he'd spoken to me and he actually very intently looked in my eyes for the entire 10 minutes of how he answered it. I didn't blink or anything. He just stared at me, which was great. I felt like he really was answering me, but also really was directing everything at me. So, but I still walked straight up to him, shook his hand, said weird stuff, all the things you'd expect from me.
I would have melted.
What astounding foresight, by the way, to go for Bobby Thomas.
I thought that was quite good on my behalf because it all came after that one game, that Leicester game, where I had a look. And I asked the club, right, I want a new signing. So I asked, obviously, about Sakamoto, Haji Wright, Van Avac, just because they were the slick, fashionable new signing. Exactly. I was like, oh, let's get in there quickly. And apparently they'd all gone. So there was less of that. But then Bobby Thomas was obviously, he just played really well against Leicester. And I thought, yeah, I like the look of him. Let's go down that route. And I did.
I wonder what happens to the people that presumably at the start of the season try and snap up Gyökeres and Hamer. Gyökeres probably goes too soon, but Hamer played.
Yeah, I do wonder that actually.
I was looking for a photo.
He played at Wimbledon.
Yeah, but I was looking for the photos the other day for about a year ago of something, and he's in all of the promotional shots for the new kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did everything they could.
He
will be staying next season.
Yeah. In a way that Gyökeres just could not be convinced to do.
No, he was gone.
Presumably someone is like, I'll have Hamer. And then when he goes, all the good players are taken and the club presumably have to go, it's fine because you can have Dermy Lusala or... With no disrespect to Dermy Lusala, but I think he would be the first to admit that he's not Gus Hamer. I
do wonder if you could ask for your money back. Maybe there's a window where if they get sold in the transfer window, you can say, right, hang on. Because it's a slight different investment, I imagine, putting your name towards Gyökeres versus putting your name towards, I will not name another name because that's not fair. But sure, but January window, halfway through, 50% off, who knows, eh?
I wonder whether it's buyer beware.
Yeah, could well be. I didn't see the T's and C's.
I don't remember seeing a thing that said, if this guy goes to Luton in January, you're...
No.
Don't worry, pal. We'll give you half of it back.
Yeah. It was Courier Dye. That's who we sponsored, wasn't it?
We sponsored. I think we sponsored Courier Dye's either home or away shirt. We did the sort of diet version of it. And from memory, I remember that. I don't know if you can validate this, Neil, because my memory's not very good. I believe as part of that deal, I think we paid £150 in total to sponsor one of his shirts as opposed to being one of his main sponsors. As part of that, it's an incredible deal because you got a shirt as part of it. And it was a signed shirt of his, but that we very magnanimously said, give it to the family zone to raffle off. And apparently he was very disappointed that some,
Yeah, we upset him with that, didn't we? We're like, oh, they don't want my signature. No, we want everybody, please. Yeah. So,
I like the idea that you'd go, hey, they've said they can give it to the family zone to raffle off. And you'd be like, well, what about me?
yeah, what about me? Should be going on the wall, that, shouldn't it?
What about my feelings? Yeah, I know that's for the kids, but I'm a kid. I'm like 18 or whatever.
Yeah, I do remember that well.
Imogen, sorry, through this, we haven't quite got to your moment of the last period.
No, I can't, Neil. I just can't. And mine just seems a bit sad by comparison, because my week has mainly been looking at photos of Mark for my Mark Robins masks that I'm having ordered for Sunday.
No,
So,
is this happening?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Oh great! How many are you making?
10. You may have one.
Can I have one? Brilliant.
Yeah, genuinely, I'll be easy to spot. But they haven't arrived yet, so tense times. I thought buying
really
the tickets was going to be stressful, but this is cutting it fine.
What did you go for, by the way?
Well, I'm glad you've asked, because it was difficult. I was going to go for the Coach's Voice
That
pose.
photo.
Isn't he handsome? But it looks a bit pixely to me, so I've gone for a picture with him and Michael Doyle when they're lifting the League Two playoff.
Oh, that's
I
cute.
recall, yes.
He looked really handsome, so I thought, yeah, that'll be the one. I'll be honest, he doesn't photograph well. I have looked at a lot. I've looked at a lot of pictures of Mark Robins over the week. God love him, and he never looks straight to camera, which is difficult for a mask. But anyway,
Don't you take the eyes out?
Yeah, but if he's on a slant, then you don't.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no,
because you want it.
That's a weird mask. Yeah.
There's not a lot of Mark Robins GQ shots, is there?
No, let's have more. I mean, or
you're right,
one.
Coach's Voice one was a great photo. There's also one. Remember when he came back from? It must have been 1 year, and he came back and he was in smashing nick. He looked like he'd been to the gym or something. And he was wearing a very, very flattering, similar top to what you're wearing, actually, Joey. He was wearing one of those, and he looked great. And then a few months later, he wasn't in quite the same nick. So I don't know why.
It was gone. I mean, the club has ravaged him. If you look at photos of when he joined, I mean, it's worse than like Obama in office. Like Mark Robins has just been like savaged by Cov. I'm sure he finds
the
it worth it.
2012 ones are great. If you go back to the first stint, you're like, oh my god, you're my age. You're poor Mark. What happened there?
But he's always like, I think even as a whippersnapper, if I think about him in a Norwich shirt or even as far back as in a Man United shirt, he's kind of prosaic, man, isn't he? Like he's never had any kind of hint of sort of like showiness about him. Like he is very much like a
hang on.
He's a roast dinner of a man, isn't he?
I thought that, but then I always have this vision. I don't know if you've seen that photo of him in his Warsaw days where he inexplicably has an earring in and a goatee and has shaved his head.
Really?
Oh my god!
Have you not seen this?
No.
Oh, it's not. He looks like he's from E17. It's just amazing. I'll have to send it to you.
Well, it looks like that's what we're going to be
post that alongside this episode. Actually, it's amazing.
I'll get that mask for the final then.
Oh god, don't even know who it is. Like Tony Mortimer, what are you doing?
By the way, I've just googled Walsall Mark Robins, and the photo that's come up isn't a photo of him at Walsall, but it is a photo of him that looks like he's just found out that I've googled him at Walsall.
Yeah. Hello, Mark. You look happy there.
He's like, God, I thought I'd left those days behind me. All right. Well, look, I don't suppose 3 people Google image search a photo of Mark Robins that no one else can see makes for amazing.
We'll save that for another time.
So that's that. I'm going to proffer some additional sort of very, very short talking points about non-FA Cup semi-final before we move on to the main course. I enjoyed the kind of roller coaster of emotions that came with seeing the championship goal of the season announced at the EFL Awards. Did you clock what that was?
No, I missed that.
Oh, was it the Ipswich?
Burns.
Against us.
Yeah. Where when I saw that it was against us, straight away I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, because I forgot what it was.
Mm.
And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, actually, that does deserve to. I'm gonna put my own allegiances to one side for a second.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's quite simply one of the best shots I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
fair play to that. That was a whirlwind few seconds of watching that when it was on Twitter. I felt like being a sort of text compadre of Paul Knowles has been absolutely magnificent these last few weeks, because in some sort of perverted way, he's been desperate for us to lose games, because he's convinced that we have been playing poorly for about 2 months, which I think is sort of semi-accurate, but not totally accurate. And so trying to watch him compute beating Leeds was very fun, and seeing him try and compute 2 consecutive away victories was fun. But the kind of, then there is always the bit of it that is his kind of told you so about Southampton and
I believe you. Yeah, I really do.
the a separate sort of very personal thing which did make me laugh was a friend of mine who I work with, who's a Preston fan, collared me and said, who do you think it'll be out of us, Norwich and you? And I was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, you, because it's us and Norwich. It was about 2 weeks ago. And then when I looked at the league table, we were on the same points as them and on the same number of games. And I was like, I don't remember anything about this. And then we got beat by Southampton, and he was very quick to be like, guess it's just us and Norwich now. And then they got absolutely hammered by
Yeah, take your -4 goal difference, mate.
Like, yeah. It's funny how time does things to you, isn't it, Dan? So yeah, that's I guess, are any of us under any illusions that there is a sort of lingering playoff hope? I mean, for
It's all about
listeners,
you know.
I mean, you're all listeners. Imogen is shaking her head with one of the widest shakes I've ever seen. I'm inclined to agree. Neil, your thoughts?
So I'm a realist, so I know it's not going to happen. But it's all about the order in which things. No, I'm really not. But it's about the order in which things happen. So like it's all about the next 2 weeks. If this happens, so we win against Hull and West Brom or Norwich lose their next game, then you've then got, I'm all about the opportunity. It's then about, can we then go and beat Birmingham? Not Birmingham, sorry. Who we play after that?
Got Ipswich,
Blackburn.
Blackburn.
That's the one. Because that's it then. Because I don't think we're going to do it, but the order of events makes things more interesting, because we've then got 4 games and they've only got 2 left. And if they lose their next game and when we win our next game, that's where my lingering hope is. Currently, no, but those events have to happen for me to think, oh, maybe we could do it.
I mean, we won't, will we? The big thing for me would be to kill Josh Sargent. I think that's if we had a genuine hope of, because we've seen what Norwich looked like without him, and they were not going up, and then they are.
You were very impressed with him, weren't you?
I just think that I watched him against Norwich, and what's baffled me is that I watched him a lot during the season that he played in the Premier League, and I would put him in my top 10 worst ever Premier League players. I just thought he was really, I don't mean to be cruel, I just mean sort of objectively, I couldn't understand. But then as well as you forget, we talk about this a lot, he was probably 19 and American and playing in the Premier League, but his time hadn't come yet, had it? It doesn't make him a bad player. Even if he wasn't very good that season, it's not, but maybe he just wasn't ready. Whereas this season, looking at him now, he's like a big, aggressive, strong, fast, really talented finisher. You just think, you've really come on a bit. So yeah, they are, they're benefiting from him. You're right about West Brom, by the way. That Norwich have basically pulled level with West Brom, haven't they? Who looked like they would be.
West Brom have got Leicester next, and then then it's 2 games to go, and if that means they then end up on 75 points, I know we're not going to win all our 4 games, but I want the opportunity. I want to go 2 games to go, knowing that we have a chance. That's more fun. Sometimes it won't work out. But
it's much more fun. Just as a little bit of fun, do either of you have any kind of opinion on who you think will go up automatically in the in the Championship?
Leicester by mistake, maybe. They're the only ones. The others are kind of. Yeah, I think they'll find. I think they only need 2 wins, and I think they'll find them somehow. And also, one of those wins being against West Brom would help me prolonging our playoffs hopes as well. So
Imogen?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't care. I was just thinking, if we did get into the playoffs, I, I don't see us beating any of them. I know we just beat Leeds, but
Yeah, that's another point entirely. Isn't it?
that's
Like,
kind
I'd
of
say.
humiliating, isn't it?
I
Get to the semis and get done.
I really don't think it's. I don't think it's important for us to get in the playoffs this season. I just don't.
No, I don't, and I'm actually quite content not doing so. But
Yeah, I'm all right winning the FA Cup. I think that'll do me.
yeah, me too. I'm
That
fine
would
with
be,
that.
that would be absolutely fine as far as
Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah,
And we've
I'll
seen
settle
what's
for that.
happened. We've seen what's happened when kind of Goliaths get felled unexpectedly. So Liverpool get knocked out, get beat. Actually, I don't know how they're getting on so far, but they got beat by Atalanta and then all of a sudden can't pick themselves back up to play Palace. And Arsenal get beat by Villa and then they can't pick themselves back up to play Bayern. Man City get knocked out of the Champions League. Can they pick themselves back up to play Chelsea? We already know, statistically speaking, it's an almost 100% likelihood that they will lose that game. And then we've got Chelsea, and anything can happen against a team that,
Yeah.
is
Poch
insane.
doesn't win cups, so
No. Easy
and Mark
streak.
Robbins does. Fine.
Plus, it's the fairy tale that we need, given all the FA Cup news today about no replays
No replays,
happening anymore.
yeah.
We could be the
So-
ones
Replays.
sticking it to the man.
That's it.
Exactly, yeah. And that would be, of course, the news that was dictated by the Premier League, despite the fact that at least 2 of the rounds don't involve Premier League.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So what I will say about, I think we will do a championship season roundup podcast, probably if one of us doesn't die or we don't have a cat that eats our home.
That's the spirit.
But what I would like to very, 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 very quickly say is overall season, I just think what a grand season.
Yeah.
For the turnover of players that we had, and to have lost the 2 players that were, I think, possibly 2 of the best of our lifetimes, and all of the associated kind of reasons that we could have just been either mid-table or lower, to have had the season that we've had, and to have had the improvement in the second half of the season that we've had, I really do think that with maybe 3 or 4 top quality signings next season, we're maybe not absolute nailed on top 2 contenders, but I do think we sit in the playoffs all season next season, if that's the case.
I think it's perfectly possible when you think about it. Like this season, it's a different league. I think we've got the same amount of points as we had at the same point last season.
Yeah.
We've scored more goals, and we're also in the semi-final of the FA Cup. As a whole, we don't know how we're going to finish. We've got 4 games left. If we end the season, even if we don't get into the playoffs, having more points, more goals, and getting to this point in the FA Cup, you can't control everything else around you. But in terms of improvement goes, there's your improvement. And we've somehow recreated Gyökeres in the aggregate with Sims and Wright with their goals and the way that they're kind of finding a way to do stuff in the league. So it's different, but I think absolutely when you look back at it, and I don't want to finish the season right now because there's still a hell of a lot of stuff that might happen and it could get very exciting. But even when you look at it pound for pound right now, great. I'm very happy. I'd like more, obviously, because I'm greedy, but still, it's great.
Yeah, and we've had some good results against some really decent teams. I mean, you talked about Leicester earlier, that first game of the season. We outplayed them for 75 minutes.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And with a team that didn't know who each other was, for them to pick themselves up after what happened last season, not just the losing the final, but also like you say, the loss of such pivotal players in our team, and to be anywhere near the playoffs this season, I think it's been a pleasant surprise. And I'm fine finishing, I don't know, anywhere up to 10th, to be honest, because I think
You're so scarred from last year, though, aren't you? The playoffs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned it, Neil, but yeah, took its toll. But this FA Cup run has been so much fun, so much joy. That is easily made up for any loss of league position for me. But I know you feel differently, Neil. But Neil, because I know Prem has always been the target for most of us. Do you look at going to the Prem because before last season, I was convinced that the Prem was everything that we were aiming for, and Laurie and I had various disagreements about this because he was like, "Oh, no, you know what it's like? It's just like, so rubbish. Like, everyone's like so money. Like, why would you even be up there?" And I was like, "Well, because it's not real football." And I was like, "Well, it is real football. It's the pinnacle of real football. That's the whole point of it." But having watched the utter dismantling of not just Sheffield United, but also Burnley and frankly Luton. And Luton get an easy ride, but they are terrible.
They've been
And
fucking awful recently.
they're shit to watch. Just because they've got a apparently handsome manager and they play their games in a shed, everyone thinks it's endearing that they're up there, and it's just patronising. And I'm really not over last season. Anyway, I am not sure that.
Well, we'll go for an apparently handsome manager. I would have thought that would have been fairly objectively truthful. No, you haven't it? I think he's handsome, but I think he's my type. I think he looks.
Yeah, he's not my type.
I mean, there's no Mark, but still.
Exactly. I'm already taken. Mark Robins forever. Does that appeal to either of you, being in the Prem?
No. I'll tell you what appeals to me more. It's a wanky thing to say, but the journey and the opportunity and having those events. That's why I obviously hated not winning the match at Wembley last season, but everything that surrounded it was brilliant. So I'd much rather those events and those moments. And if it means we get up to the Prem, obviously that's great. But if it was such a thing, I would love to have all of that, win the match, and then not have to go to the Prem as well, because there's something quite nice about this league, because there is also something quite nice about winning more regularly than you lose as a football fan. I mean, and who knows what would happen in the Premiership, but I think the likelihood is we're not going to be a club that wins more regularly than it loses when you get there. It just doesn't happen. So it doesn't. I used to think it did appeal to me, but I think what appealed to me more was actually just being happy with us as a football club. And for many years, I just wasn't happy. We ballsed up 15 years worth of my life in the Championship or Division 1, and then all that nonsense. We haven't been in the Premiership the last 7 years, and it's been all right, hasn't it? It's been pretty nice. So
it's been great.
I'm okay with it, but I'm okay with also challenging and making sure we have those opportunities, because I think they mean the most to me.
Imogen, you live in that London.
I do that there, London.
Do you think that Brentford fans are happy?
Yes, I think they are. I think this season has been a bit more troubling for them because it looks like Frank's job is more under threat.
They've been terrifically unlucky with injuries and
and Tony and
for injured for so long. But they're I wonder whether, to your point about the journey, Neil, is that if you're Brentford and the first season that you get to the Premier League, it almost doesn't matter if you get beat more than you did the season before, because you stay up and you've just stayed up in the Premier League. I think it's 3 seasons. Is this the third season or now?
Yeah.
You wonder whether they actually loses its gloss a little bit at that point, because you kind of go, well, where do we go from here?
It could be. I mean, but
what
I think
about you?
What we were like.
How do you feel about the prospect of Coventry City and Premier League football?
I, in theory, would love it, in that it's what we're aiming for. I would love to see Mark on Match of the Day. I would like to.
Scratching his face while he answers a question while thinking about his elephant dinner. Yeah.
Hating every moment of it.
It's just,
They're a good team. It was disappointing. I love that idea. I like the idea of being able to get some really good players, going to some grounds I haven't been to for a long time. All of that's lovely. There is a part of me that revels in being the football martyr amongst people. When you go to a gathering with people and you announce to them that you are a Cov fan, there is people take a different view of it. I guess it's the same for you, Jake, if you're not in Cov either, but people look at you as some sort of curiosity, and they want to tell you everything that they know about Cov, which is usually Dion Dublin,
Yeah.
Steve Ogrizovic. Have you moved back to the Rico yet? And depending on the age, it's either 87 or they'll say something about something a bit more niche, like
Ground
Mickey
Sound,
Flynn.
Haji.
Classic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone said to me yesterday, Steve Froggatt, and I was like, nice, don't hear that a lot.
No.
Thank you for that reference.
Double whammy for you, of course.
Exactly.
Mm.
So that upsets me a little bit, because if you go back up to the Prem, you lose that noble lower league status of being a real football fan, and someone just assumes that you're there because you've just been promoted and you're just jumping on the bandwagon. So either way, I'm disappointed.
For what it's worth, and I really feel like we should get on to sort of ranting and raving about the FA Cup semi-final, because, you know, we've talked about real football for too long, and that's absolutely not what this episode is about. I just think really it's about the Premier League is about, having seen the last 10 years, you realise that the evil of the Premier League is a necessary evil, because it gives you the financial stability, and not just stability, but like total kind of what's the word? Like, you outweigh the opposition when you go back down to the Championship so frighteningly unfairly, and like it sets up a better club for our kids to go and watch, should we have kids. Do you know what I mean? Is that like, I don't think it's I don't think I want to watch us in the Premier League. I really like watching Championship level football. I think it's a great level of like game. I think that most of the games are really entertaining. You can watch stuff that's really sort of high level and also really shit level, and that I like both. And like you say, I don't want to watch us just get whammed every week, because I've had 15 years of watching that. And there's a limit to how much you can say, oh, but it's Man City every week, when then you get beat 4-0 by Palace or whatever. I think it'd be dispiriting. Or you'd hope that you be a Brentford, but that we're not a Brentford. We haven't got, Mark's laptop has got as much RAM as Matthew Benham's or whatever it's called. And so I don't think I personally care much for the idea of going up to the Premier League, but for like every generation below us and whatever, it will mean that the what happened in the last 15 years is much less likely to happen again.
Yeah.
Presumably Doug will sell, and then we'd have to hope that it sells to someone that's not insane. But the money in the club means that you'd have to really fuck it up to kind of put us back to where we were. It would be very funny if he sold to Brian Richardson.
Would it?
Is Brian Richardson still alive?
I think he died, no?
Did he die? I think he
I'm
died.
looking him up now.
He
was Brian with a Y, wasn't he?
He was Brian with a Y, yeah. And a big Y at that. Right, okay, that's enough kind of soul searching about something that isn't going to happen for the next 5 years. So, FA Cup semi-final. It's here, guys. We all predicted it. If we remember going back from our notes from the season starting podcast, Neil, you said final. Imogen, you said semi-final. I said semi-final. So we're all correct in our predictions about where we would get to in the FA Cup. First
Knew
of all,
it.
Well done. Yeah, obviously knew that that was going to happen. Well done, Neil, correctly predicting that we would beat Oxford 6-2 and that Casey Palmer would score. That especially was a big, very specific prediction.
Especially predicting that we'd get Oxford in the third round as well. I thought that was more impressive than getting the score right. Just knowing that we'd get them in there.
That was
the odds on that one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The question that I would like to start with is, what is going to be you wake up on Sunday morning? What are you doing, guys? Imogen, if you'd like to start, what are you doing on Sunday morning?
I'm arranging my face masks.
Strolling to the face mask, strolling to the ground, because I imagine that London walk everywhere, right?
I actually do walk everywhere, and I've worked out it's a 3-hour walk to Wembley, and Google Maps always overestimates. I reckon that's 2.5 hours max. So I am seriously considering it.
Tangent, I think of an hour as being 3 miles. I think if you then knock that down a little bit because of kind of like that's 3 is your first like hour. I think you're probably are you 10 miles away from London, from Wembley, sorry?
Yeah, something like that. But plus, I'll be walking with purpose.
Sure.
Well,
So-
of course, yeah. It'll be
but
the
will
mark-
the-
it
But will the
literally be
flag
a mark-
draw me
yeah.
back?
A
Say that
mark,
again?
yeah.
I said, well, will the flag draw me back? Because I'll be wearing my flag as a cape.
Well, it depends on which
So-
way the wind is blowing, I suppose.
You're
But,
right. If it's at my back, we're sorted.
you could get there in basically 20 minutes, I expect.
Godspeed.
Neil, Sunday morning.
I will be looking at my shirts and deciding which one to wear. I think that'll be my first big decision. Because I recently had a haul from an old attic with lots of shirts from the 90s. So I've given them a wash, ruined some of them, but I'll be picking which one I want to wear, which would be great fun.
I'm so
Well, hang on
jealous.
a second. When you say haul, do you mean that you found some that you didn't know that you had, or that you've pulled?
I
some
thought
that-
I'd given them away. I hadn't seen them since I'd left home. My mother had been looking through the attic and she found this big bag of Coventry City shirts. John Eustace 15 from 2001, all the good ones.
Beautiful.
One lovely. I got that one that they've just remade, the one from 94. That one's there. That fits me still.
Yeah, that was my
amazingly.
first one.
Some of them were obscenely large. I don't know how big my dad thought I was going
They
to grow
are
to,
big.
but they were,
The
Yeah,
90s
I just
were a
like-
good time.
yeah, it's like you were growing to this, son. I mean, no, I will never will. But yeah, so I've got a good selection. So I'll be seeing that will be my main decision, and my other decision will then be seeing. I don't want what happened last time against Luton to happen again, where I ended up on the same tube as all of the Luton fans, because I'm a low key kind of guy, and me stood amongst a lot of people in orange wearing my own Cov shirt was not my best decision. So I had to navigate that one. So I don't really want that to happen again. I'll probably just wear a coat. That'd be fine. But yeah, that's my plan.
Tangent, but have we ever talked about I went to the Charity Shield game when it was Man United versus Portsmouth after Portsmouth won the FA Cup.
Oh yeah.
So the lad that I went down with, I got somebody at work, because I work and live in Manchester, offered me for quite a good price 2 Charity Shield tickets. They were maybe like, he said you can have them for like a tenner each. And so a friend of mine who was a United fan, and I knew would want them, I said, do you want these tickets? But I'm very, really clear about the fact that I'm not going with you. Like, you'll have to go with someone else. And he was like, yeah, fine, that's it. He got them. And then like 2 or 3 days beforehand, he was like, I haven't got anyone to go with, and I wasn't doing anything else. So I went. He is one of the skinniest, frailest, and he would have been about 19 at the time, just a very kind of like the most pick-onable person you could ever imagine. When I met up with him in Manchester on the way down, is that he wasn't wearing colours, and I said to him, "Oh, you're not wearing a United shirt?" And he said, "No, I've got one in my bag, but I want to be sensible and make sure that I don't get into any trouble, especially with it being Portsmouth." And I said to him, "Oh yeah, good call. I didn't really think about that. That's really sensible." And then we got on the tube, and I think we were maybe 3 stops away from Wembley. And he was like, right, I should be okay. And then we got the next stop, and the most Portsmouth fans in the entire world. And they got on in such a way where they separated the two of us, and they just circled him, and they literally just the entire rest of the journey, they were like, what are you doing here? And he was like, well, I'm going to the game. And they were like, yeah, but what are you doing on this tube, mate? Luckily, like, there was a load of young lads, they're like 2 dads, and they were about to start him, and the 2 dads were like, he's like a child, just please don't.
Oh, that sounds like my nightmare.
Yeah, so I think you're probably right. Is to avoid that any which way, I would suggest from personal experience, if you can, get yourself out of that. Are you going down? What are you doing? You get the train down on Sunday?
No, I'm going to be there the night before. We have a lucky hotel that we lost in last time, but it's still a hotel, so we'll be going there again, and we'll be staying over. Nice and easy journey in the morning. I don't like the look of those trains coming from the Midlands on Sunday morning. They look very, very stressful to me. So I'm happy to stick it out earlier. Nice simple day, and then back to the hotel after a lovely defeat.
The fabulous thing for us is that we have now been to Wembley so often, is that we're now able to successfully sort of plan it as a day
Yeah.
to make sure that we don't kind of come unstuck in the myriad ways that previous journeys have done us in. But the way I'm doing the same, I'm going on Saturday night and then staying on Sunday night as well, because I don't want to have to get there. I don't want to have to get back. I just want to.
Have you done the on the day thing before? Have you come down from Manchester, or did you go down to Coventry?
So 3 times the previous. One time I came down from Manchester on the train. One time I came down from Cov on the train. The last time I got a bus down.
Right.
And all of them, there are better ways to do it, and the way to do it is to stay in London the night before, I think, and that's the was it the Oxford game? I think the JPT was I just remember thinking someone's going to die at the train station.
It sounded horrible. I saw the photos.
It was really
incredible.
really ropey. Like, just people just like they'd sort of planned it out really badly, and also then everyone was so poorly behaved that just it just didn't. I don't want to go through that again. But that all sounds like it's a fabulous time to be had. Are you excited? Are you nervous? How are you feeling, Neil?
I'm wonderfully relaxed, because it's one of those where almost I keep going about opportunity today, but it's like this is all I wanted to do, get to Wembley. This is the event now. So I have faith that if we play to our capabilities, we can have a good game and maybe we can score a goal or so and we might be able to beat them. But if we don't, we still got to Wembley, we got to semi-final, and we still had a decent season, which is very unlike me, because I normally keep pushing things.
If we haven't won everything, you're
yeah, it's like we've got a chance to do 2 things this season. So if we got to the final, we got to the semi-final, it's still brilliant. Like, it's still, after what happened with Wolves, that was still an amazing thing to happen. We've always got that. So this one I am far more relaxed about than I would be if it was the playoffs, because there just seems to be way more riding on those than this. This is just this is a free hit almost, which is again not something I normally say with Cov. I expect us to win, and I'm not saying we go there and just be fine with it. Like, I still really want us to put on a good show and take it to them, but you just don't know what version of them's going to turn up, which could make all the difference between whether we can handle it or not. But yeah, I'm just really relaxed and just looking forward to it, which is nice.
Imogen, how are you feeling about it all?
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Hmm.
It feels like one of the few occasions where you just get to have a huge fun day out and there's nothing riding on it, because there isn't. Who cares if we win or lose? If we win, we're probably going to get spanked like 14-0 by Man City. So we go and have a fabulous time. We get to see players that we would never otherwise have the opportunity of seeing in the flesh. So Kai Andrews might start, and we get to have a noisy, happy day without any kind of real stress, and that's so rare as a Cov fan. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy it.
So you've hit the nail on the head there for me. Is the thing, especially as someone that lives and works in Manchester. I can tell you now that every Man United fan that I work with is, one, not at all kind of thrilled by the idea of appearing in an FA Cup semi-final. Secondly, not thrilled by the idea of playing us particularly, because we're not, like, I guess if it was against Leeds or whatever, there's like a frisson of kind of like rivalry, or the idea that they're a sort of bigger club, or that there's something there. We are 9th in the Championship, but also quite good. We're not amazing, but also we are the sort of team that could cause them problems on the right day. And they know that if they win, then they just go to the final and get beat, in the same way as we look at kind of the potential of going to the final. But also the day is an inconvenience. They've been to FA Cup semi-finals regularly recently and have won less overall in terms of cups achieved out of it. So the whole day for them is kind of like this, like, morose trudge, an expensive day that's just part of a process that ultimately will lead in catastrophe for them because of their own expectations. And I think that means that when the atmosphere amongst their fans is just going to be one of kind of anxiety and tension. Whereas almost all of us are just like, fuck it, I'm going down in a mankini and I'm going to. If we lose 8-0, I'm still going to be fucking louder than the United fans. And
Yeah.
there is something to be said for the atmosphere in Wembley is going to be very strange because the COF fans are going down like it's an FA Cup final and the Man United fans are going down like it's an FA Cup third round. And I wonder what bearing that will have on the overall kind of proceedings, because it's not like that atmosphere does make such a difference. And that when they're already at a low ebb and their defense is so fucked up like it is in terms of kind of, we're expecting it to be basically their only 4 fit defenders in the entire club that will play. Like, what does it do to them when, you know, half of the ground is fucking like, you know, waving bananas and going wild? Like, there's a lot to be said for the fact that, like, a lot is in our favour.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so pumped now. That was the best speech you've ever made. I feel so hyped.
But that, like, you know, I don't like anything more than antagonism. And that this is our very big we've never had a more antagonistic day than this as a club.
Yeah.
Because, like, we've got nothing to lose. We've got nothing to lose, and we can celebrate even if we lose. If we lose 3-2, we'll have seen us score 2 goals at Wembley against Man United.
Oh, man.
And as well, I don't know about you, when we got the equaliser against Luton, I nearly cried, and I don't cry at anything. I'm not proud of that. I'm not saying that's a fantastic man quality, that is. I'm just saying it as a fact. I don't really cry. But when we scored, I was more sad than when we were 1-0 down, because I was like, this might actually happen now.
Yeah.
Too much. It was too hard. It was too tense, right? Whereas if we scuff a goal in against Man United at Wembley, I will be down the fucking aisles. If we lose 5-1 and we score a goal, I will fucking set up
one goal.
With My United fan, I know.
Yeah.
A lot of them with my cock out. I don't give a fuck. The whole thing is only set up so that even minor victories for us are absolutely positive. But I just think that balance of of energy is gonna be a problem for them. I just think it is.
Yeah, and I never thought we'd get here. What
are we doing here?
We have no right to be here. But you know, I remember. So I was born just before the final. So I've got all the stories from my dad and his mates when I was growing up about how great the final was. I was like, snore, I'm never going to see that. Like, this is the bygone era, and we're never going to experience it. And we're here. We're at Wembley in an FA Cup semi-final. Good God Almighty, get your tits out, guys. This is going to be great.
It's very, very odd. Does it bear any kind of tactical scrutiny, or is it completely superfluous?
Why?
Not this
What's the point?
I think others may try, but this is that's not for us, is it? Because, like you say, there are other factors at play here which might have a bearing and actually might be more important. So, you know, I much more prefer how mad they could be. You know, that might be the thing that's more at play than the fact of whether we do a high or low press. Like, that's, who knows?
But also there's a couple of things around that I think are sort of positive, which is did you see, by the way, we haven't talked at all, because we haven't done any podcasts, about the person that's come out of the woodwork called CCFC Analysis on Twitter. Are you aware of this? I think I'm sure if you put into Twitter CCFC Analysis, you'll be able to find them doing really, really terrific work. There's a lovely companion piece to what Dom does in terms of kind of tactical analysis, but I guess from a more numeric basis. And there was a lovely email, if you subscribe to this person's whatever it is. So I want to call it a Substack, but I don't really know what that means. About kind of our problems with possession. And that the more possession we have, the less likely we are to win, which is a very kind of dumbed down version of the sentiment that was portrayed by.
That's my spreadsheet.
I think that we have got a good opportunity here to kind of say to Man United, you won't get away against us in letting us have the ball, because your fans are going to go insane if you try and play You try and hit us on the break. So whether you like it or not, you're going to have to try and play this game, even though you know outright that trying to come at us is the worst thing that you could do, because it's how we play better, and it's how you play worse. Because we've seen, presumably you've watched them against Liverpool and Brentford or whatever, where every time they lost the ball, it was like a 5-on-2 attack against.
Oh God, yeah, they don't have to force it at all.
And the Wright and Sims, like, how much space would they like behind a fucking dysfunctional Man United back four? I think there are, even outside of the energy reasons, I think there are tactical reasons to think that we might have a chance against them. Conversely, the thing that worries me is Rashford against Latibodiere at right back, but we'll talk less about that.
But I think that's a really good point there, because I think the one thing that we do as fans who haven't seen these players is kind of us to underestimate sort of the athleticism of them and the sheer sort of explosiveness of it. Even someone like Aït-Nouri in the previous game, who he's a good player, but the sheer speed that man possessed. And then you've got that with Rashford, who on a grander stage may not perform for various reasons, but he's surrounded usually by equivalent athletes. In a game where we're playing him, like you say, I think it goes unnoticed, but I don't think Latibodiere is in any way quick. Like you say, him versus Rashford is a really worrying battle. You then wonder whether Mark does think about just pitting Van Ayvac against him somehow and saying, right, let's see you two fight it out, because I think, pound for pound, race for race, he could probably match him. But I think that is one area, the athleticism of their players which we're not used to seeing. That will be the bit which I'm most concerned by. I think just if we're surprised by how much quicker they are than we are, like Garnacho, him against Bidwell, that might be a shock, and it's just whether we can counter that with other things, whether that is dropping deeper, whether that's having a double cover and you've got both Eccles doing all the running alongside Chief or something like that. I don't know what the answer is, but it's definitely something that worries me. It's probably the thing that worries me the most about coming up against a Prem team, because we see it every time. We even saw it against Wolves, even though we beat them, there were stark differences between some of their individuals and our individuals. Not all of them, but some of them.
But so I think that's a really, really good point, in the sense that, like, that was a game that we should have very, very, very comfortably put to bed. But our kind of deficiencies in finishing and their kind of the fact that they're a better Premier League team meant that even in a game where we were overwhelmingly dominant, we still nearly didn't get through.
Yeah.
So I think that's then amped up 100 times for Man United. There's a very strong chance. And again, sort of to some extent, it doesn't matter. If it does end up playing out like this, then you just kind of walk away and go, well, we knew this could happen. There is a very good chance that Bruno Fernandes turns up and just goes, you've watched me for the last 3 years. You're not aware of the fact that I'm 100 times better than any COF player in history. And you go, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm just remembering.
Yeah,
and then,
we
like
see it
say,
now, yeah.
Yeah, when you see it in close quarters as well, in the ground, which I don't think any of us would have seen him. Have either of you two seen him play live?
No,
you get the impression that like there's a version of events where you see him live and you go, oh, I knew he was good, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's also a version of events where Mark tells Josh Eccles to just literally fucking get in his face all game, which is, by the way, what exactly I would do. Because if there's a player in the Premier League that can be wound up more, I'd like to see who they are. And if there's a player in the Championship who's really good at winding players
and just following them relentlessly. Yeah.
So I think there are reasons to think that we could have a really good go tactically, and I think there are reasons to think that United could just stamp all over us. What are you looking forward to most?
I don't know if they'll do it, but if they play We Live and Die These Towns, like as a thing, to see what that might feel like or what that might look like in that stadium when everybody's hyped up.
Cool.
That could be something classic. And I think they do go through sort of different songs for different teams. When we've been there, they've played songs which are suited to us. And so I imagine it's a request, but yes, let's see what that's like in that stadium at that point.
Very funny to me to imagine that the Wembley DJ is literally a DJ, and it's Royston Dooley who has to go up with a little slip. He's like,
It's a CD.
Can we have the enemy on? The DJ's like, yeah, mate. No,
Yeah.
no.
When can we have it? Just before we kick off, please. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we'll do that.
At 2:40, at 2:59, that would be ideal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to think there is. I wonder whether. I mean, fucking. It's unlikely that it gets on. I guess it's up to us to make it happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just seem to remember there being songs in the past which are Cov. I don't remember specifics, but they've just been Cov songs which we sing and related to whether it's. Did they do Spirit in the Sky and all that sort of stuff from last year where it was just
Yeah,
songs that we could then
we
sing
did.
along to?
But I think if we could, I mean, maybe there's a thing that says, do we try and get this on social media to, it's probably not lost on plenty of people, but the idea that whatever's happening at 5 to kick off, that
Yeah.
everyone in unison is just singing that over.
Get your phones out, sing along to the music. Yeah.
Terribly, is terribly kind of like, given how it's a real phenomenon over the course of this
Yeah.
season, the way that has been a thing. If that could be orchestrated to kind of drown out anything else that was happening, there is a certain power in that. I'm saying that is that I thought when we played Middlesbrough away for the playoff semi-final last season, I thought they did a great job of, I don't know, in different circumstances, they did a great job of kind of making a lot of noise all the way up through kickoff, didn't they?
Yeah, they
But
did.
then actually it didn't really translate.
Oh, that's everything down the pan.
But I don't think that dilutes from it. I think I still think that's a lovely idea. But yeah, maybe I think about it. You sort of think that you'd sort of hope that something like that would happen. But actually, if there was some way if there was some sort of like starter group that could get that started, that's a lovely idea to get 38,000 people trying to drown out the miserable Man United fans still getting their prawn sandwiches would be terrific.
Yeah, love it.
Imogen, anything that you're particularly looking forward to? Any particular highlight that you can think of?
I would like one meaningful goal.
Of course, yeah.
Just like, okay, of scoring after we're 5-0 down I'm sure would be hilarious, but I just want that. Oh, just to go ahead, just once, even if it doesn't translate into anything. Oh, delicious.
What's the dream goal scenario? Who is it? What happened?
It's got to be a late one, right? I would quite. Do you know what? I would quite like a Ben Sheaf screamer.
I mean, that would be delish. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Immediately sold after the game.
I think very likely he could leave in the summer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A kind of a last gasp kind of thank you from Ben Sheaf.
Yeah.
Goal would be very, very nice.
Yeah. I would relish that. That would be delightful. But I don't care who scores it. If it goes in off their knob, I don't care. But for us to be ahead. Oh, did either of you go to the cup game that we played at Old Trafford that we won 2-0, the Mifsud one? Because I remember going one up there and thinking, oh my God, just staring at the scoreboard going, remember this moment because it won't last. And then we doubled it. And I was like, oh, apparently it will. Something like that would be even better.
Yeah, I think I'll take 2-0. That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Easy. Not a lot of jeopardy in it, but yeah, I'll take it.
Nah.
The resounding memory for me about that day, apart from the joy of it all, was that I had two bets that day. And one was that Cov would win 2-1 and Mifsud would score first. And the other was that Cov would win 1-0 and Mifsud would score first.
Oh, God.
And it was about 10 million to 1.
Yeah.
for both of them. And so as much as I was happy, there was a tinge of sadness about the way that it played out in the end. I must confess that as the final stages played out, I was a little bit like, come on, Dong Hangzhou.
Yeah, you've got to, haven't you? 2-1's fine. That was the game I remember. Funny, it's not an interesting story at all, but that was the day I realised I needed glasses, because back in the day, I was one of the first people to call up knowing I wanted to get a ticket. But what did they do? They allocated from the very back of the stand up. So I was like the second row from back, and it's very high up in Old Trafford. And yeah, I remember sitting there thinking, yeah, this is an entire blur. I could say that's what happened to me that day.
Man United is really high up. Did you have
It
to?
is.
I don't think I've been in a stadium, and I've been in stadiums that are as tall, if that's the word to use, where you have to walk up as many steps to get where you're going.
Yes,
Like,
and you can see down. It's like scaffolding. It felt like, didn't it? It was just worrying.
fucking walking to the top of Old Trafford is an absolute fucking mission. Like, not worth it. By the time you get there, you're just like, I just want to go home now. This is not.
Yeah. Funny
But
enough,
I'm
walking
too
down
tired
wasn't
to
a
go
problem,
home
but
because it's too far
Oh,
away.
yeah, I'm just gonna. I don't want to watch the game. I just sit. Yeah.
What are you
The-
looking forward to, Joey? No one ever asks you anything, do they?
Yeah, we don't, do we?
Yeah, but
Tell
I've
us
got.
more. Tell us more
I've got
about you.
Well, the thing is that I've got bad opinions, and secondly, I'm not. I don't have to wait for someone to ask me. I'll just shout them from the main thing for me is that, as trite as this sounds, that we all have a good time. I think there are a million different circumstances in which the game could play out, and there'd be an overall negative that still leads in us going home happy. And so I think that's that whatever that looks like. I think the problem will be, I guess, if you've like what are you looking forward to? And I'm like, what? No, I'll tell you what I'm worried about. The only thing I'm worried about is that we just fucking roll over. That's the only unpalatable situation. Even if we lose 1-0, it's not even really about the scoreline. If we lose 4-0, but we give them a right good go and we haven't given them some scares and we have a few near misses or whatever, you walk away happy. If we lose 1-0 and you just fucking roll over, that's the only thing where it's just a bit like, oh God. For me, like, the opportunity to have anything where I fucking go back into work on the Tuesday.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, if we lose 3-2, and I'm like, two goals at Wembley, your squad is more than any other squad in the world, and you fucking conceded 2 goals against Fabio Tavares has scored 2. Fabio Tavares
Fabio, please.
Fab Tav, who I think, bear in mind, has got a lot better recently. Since he's been, the more games he plays, the more times he comes on, has got better and better. I'm not having a go at Fab Tav, but I'm saying, like, for someone that's come from Rochdale as like an 18-year-old,
yeah,
I could totally see him nicking one and then going back in work and just being like, Fab Tav, fucking who are you? Do you know what I mean? You fucking use him for years. Like that. Like, I think that's why it's such a joyous occasion. Is I'm hoping that all of us, even whether you live in Cov, you work with United fans because they're fucking everywhere like vermin. That there's just a bit of something that allows us to get the glove on them, and that there is that. The problem is that there is the Andy Ruiz thing against Anthony Joshua. Is you're like, we could fuck you up actually. Like we could, we could. You seem pretty big, but actually, I could put you on your ass. But that's why it's so joyful. And the thing is that as long as we land a glove, then it's all good.
Yeah.
The problem, I guess, is if like remember the Chelsea semi-final in 2008, the quarterfinal, sorry.
Yeah.
I think they scored after 9 minutes, and the one person that you'd have bet your house on not letting you down was Scott Dan. And then it wasn't even Scott Dan's fault. He just hadn't come up against Didier Drogba before. And Drogba, get out of my way.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm turning out Champions League centre backs like they're not there. You can fuck right off. And then they just waited
I don't want that.
Like,
do you remember the Spurs one? Spurs away.
Yeah.
That's my go-to of games where, oh shit, they're way too good. What are you going to do about it? I mean, like, I just did. You turn up thinking, because we kind of, we performed. I don't know if that was the year we performed against. No, it wasn't MK Dons, so it was another year. But I turned up.
We'd had a little spell of decent performances,
and then, like, literally everybody in our team played like the level that they were on that day. Apart from Edgingwele, unbelievably, who had actually quite a good game. But I have never seen us so clinically outmuscled. Plus, I was at the front. Hart Lane was a weird ground where on the top tier, there was barely any barrier. So I don't know if you saw that guy who fell off the tier in Chelsea recently because he celebrated too hard. I was basically like, it was like a yard high. If we'd celebrated, I would have expired. That would have been the end of me because there's no way I'm not falling over that barrier. So yeah, luckily that didn't happen that day. Oh, actually, did we score? Maybe we
No,
scored
it was 3-0, weren't it?
3-0, was it? Okay, good,
It was
good.
3-0. I think they went 3-0 up in the first half, and then in the second half, they must have shook hands and been like,
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah. Yeah,
we
that
don't
was
want
that was the
any
day.
injuries, and
Yeah.
score to the 5 if you want, but I guess we just leave it like this, right?
Luckily, that's not going to happen. It's fine. That was a one-off. That was those days. We're different now.
I just think this is a different day and a different game.
So do I.
Love it.
Really do.
Yeah. I'd quite like to see, if we do score, I'd quite like to see some 90s celebrations, like a Darren Huckabee, when he got the penalty against United and he like shook his finger at them like that. I would quite like that. Or when they all used to do they point Dublin and Paul Williams, and
Hands up
they
in the
used to
air.
point, and then
Yeah.
Gary McAllister used to shake the other person's head, didn't he? In what I'm
Is
sure
it,
was a loving way.
Is it too close to recently? Maybe someone could do the Matt Godden. So maybe Matt Godden does the Matt
Godden. Oh yeah, there. He'll be pissed off if he's not the one doing the Matt Godden celebration, wouldn't he? Like, oi, guys.
It'd be very funny
Don't think-
as you want to get pointed to.
They've all got 20 celebrations. I'm sure they've got a nice canon of work that they can refer to.
Okay. So it's very exciting. It's all
Isn't it?
just tremendously exciting.
I've loved this. This has been great.
This has been fun.
An hour of talking about how good we are right now. Well, we're not, but you never know.
The final thing that I do want to nail down, because I am really, really struggling with this. Neil, you've talked about your cough top dilemma. Imogen, have you got a cough top dilemma?
No,
don't
I
know
think
what-
I know which.
Are you?
Go
I can't remember seeing you in a cough top. I think I might have seen you in a yellow cough top at some point.
Yeah, I wore the yellow to Luton, so that's never coming out again. I think I'm going to go for. I think it's like 2002, 3. It's not a vintage. I mean, well, it is vintage. I mean, it's not a particularly good shirt, but I think, like you, Neil, I think I gave mine all away, possibly midway through our championship stay the first time round when I was disillusioned and sad.
This will never be a classic. It's fine.
Yeah, including the first one, which was the 94 home kit, which was the one that they,
collar.
that they've just, I love that one. And because I was such a chubby kid, I would still have fit into them all. So it's really disappointing that I've chucked them all away. But yeah, I think I will go for that one, mainly because it's the only one I've got. And the flag and the mask.
And the flag and the mask. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
JC?
Huge.
Class trio. I don't.
You're in the Mankini, no?
Well, I'm in the Marquini, so
Very good. Very
I'll have
good.
the map over the genital.
Yes.
It's very genital heavy, this podcast. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, much. I think there's been more gentle chat in here than any other podcast, like all of the other podcasts put together.
John's been holding us back. That's why.
That's what I think. That's probably what it is. I had gone for, I think it's 98, 99. You know, the classic sort of odd Subaru one with the kind of different.
That's my favourite.
The
With the crest on it.
White band, and I think we all know what we're talking about here. It's a classic Dublin and Huckabee shirt. That had seen me to Notts County away, Middlesbrough away, and all 3 of the Wembleys. But unfortunately, it saw me to last Wembley, and so I think it's got to go. And the problem I've got is it needs to be replaced. Now, I have shed some weight over the last 4 months or so, and that most of the other old shirts that I've got would have been sort of weight appropriate. Now they might be kind of parachutey, and I don't know really where I go from here, because you can't, if you've got, one of the beauties of having the old shirts is I could have worn a medium and it still fit 3 people. But now I don't really know what to do anymore. So I'm going to have to make a kind of late stage decision about what I go for. What I could possibly do is, I've never worn I've got the tags on both the Rico return and the one with the names on the back.
Yeah. I've got
those ones. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not sky blue, and it doesn't feel right. It does need to be a sky blue shirt, doesn't it? I think is principle amongst it. I mean, I might wear the relegation white shirt just to piss Paul off, but the
yeah.
that
Well,
doesn't-
that. Yeah.
as much as that would normally be my priority, it doesn't feel like it's a priority for that particular day, does it?
See how you're feeling in the morning. Do a fashion
I've
show as
got-
well. That's the way, isn't it?
I've-
Try them all.
Got one of the 95, 96-y sort of, or 96, 97-y ones with the sky blue and dark blue stripes.
Yeah,
By the way,
yeah.
if that isn't next season's home shirt, what the fuck are they doing? Because they would
Yeah, it's a
recycle
lovely kit.
every other design that people would like,
Yeah.
and that is probably the main design that most people would like. Would be that.
I think we're
particular
due, aren't we? Yeah.
they would be insane if that's not what it happens. But the I've got one of them, but that is fucking massive. Maybe it's just a bit of fun to wear a fucking massive shirt all day and then not really mention it.
Well, they did at the time. I don't remember the pictures back at the time. Unlove is clearly
Yeah.
wearing an extra large, and it's just his sleeves were to his wrists. It was just, who designed that shirt? It's like, yeah, I'll wear that. That's a good size for me.
The ultimate, the all time odd fitting shirt is I think it's 0405. It's a Kit at shirt, and it's
Oh, that
sky
one.
blue and it's unremarkable. But if you know what I mean, one, if you stood within 20 meters of an open flame, it would have just ignited immediately. And
Was that the City Link one? Is that too?
no, we're
Before
way,
it,
we're way before CityLink. It's presumably a Subaru one, but it is
No, surely not.
fucking it's so low quality. The club made it themselves, and it's hang on a second, 2004, 5.
Oh, I know the one. The one where we left Highfield Road.
I think so. Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, I had that
Yeah.
one.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad. If you own that kit, which I do, the feel of it is just bizarre. It doesn't even feel like a football kit so
Oh,
much.
yeah.
It's like sort of like a satin gown. It's just huge. So yeah, that's that. Right. Okay. Look, we've had lots of excitement. We've had lots of good times. It's been great. We haven't even got to the semi yet, and this has been a joy. Any final thoughts before we ditch these idiot listeners and get into the deep bath of our beds?
I'll end on a
pace
mawkish
yourselves.
note. Oh no, go on. Pace yourself.
I was just, pace yourself. Some
Too
people
cautious,
get a little bit too drunk.
I feel very attacked right now, Neil. I hope this isn't a.
No, not at all. It's just if you like to sit next to an aisle at the top of the row, like I like to do, if people get too drunk, you spend most of the game trying to stop them from falling down the aisle rather than watching the game. So that's just a personal preference of mine.
Fucking let them go. I think
All right,
to
yeah,
some
okay.
extent- To some extent, I just think they want to go. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they just want to end up. No.
You are right. You are right. Just it's fine to have a great time and also have some drinks without like killing yourself.
General message that I can endorse. Yeah.
Imogen, any advice for kind of Maniac Cop fans?
No, none at all. None that they'd listen to anyway. But I would like to spare a thought for one man who won't be with us this momentous Sunday, and that is Carl McFadden, and how much I would have liked to have seen him against Man United.
Ah.
I will give you £1 million if he's not somewhere with Gus.
Yeah, they're there. They'll be there.
That would be lovely.
That I tell you what, that's my big hope for the day is that I see Gus in the Green Man.
Yeah.
I'm
They all turn up.
fucking
Max
He'll
will be there.
wow.
Oh,
Shipley will
yeah,
be there.
Max is
Obviously,
going.
yeah, Gus Shipley will definitely be there. Like there's like a fucking cachet of like ex-players for the last 5 years or so that would definitely go in together.
Bloody love us.
Fucking Tom Davis.
Yeah.
Tom Davis don't even know there's a game on. He's just like, fuck, I just forgot to remember this time of year. That'd be something going on.
Just followed Jack Grimmer, and he was coming, so I thought, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, right, okay. Fab, right, that's just done, isn't it? Lovely. So we will see you all at Wembley. Have a great time. Neil, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Imogen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joey.
We will be back just before the final, or we will be back just before, just after the start of the league season. I predict we will be back just before the final. And after that, we will be with you a week later to talk about the 6-0 drubbing by Man City. Bye.